Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lyndsay.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good, thanks. So today we're going to be taking a look at a blog that was written by somebody here at ITR, our talented Tim Schutz.
Yes.
And he writes all of our blog content. He's a word wizard.
He is. Sometimes our speakers work with him to kind of, help get that content out there, just into a blog, hopefully somewhere that it will be read. And I swear all of our writers and proofers here at ITR, they make us sound so smart. I just love having them on staff. But Tim is absolutely amazing, just brilliant. So I'm thrilled we get to work with him and talk about some of his content today.
I know. So I hope it's not your first time tuning in to By the Numbers or ITR in general, but a couple of, summations of what we do here. By the Numbers, we take in headlines and we break down the headlines. We put numbers to any of the facts or misleading information that may exist within an article. Sometimes we validate the articles entirely and we find that they're very great and informative, but that's what we do here in studio and at ITR as a whole. We use our business-minded economists and analysts to talk about our forecasting for the overall economy and, maybe it's what's happening here and now, what's happening a year from now, 3 years from now, and all the way to the 2030s.
Yes, and even beyond. There will be another day.
There will be another day. I know, it's true. Sometimes we talk about 2030s like it's just the drop dead date, which
it's true.
It gets a little doom and gloom.
It gets scary. And I get this when I'm on the road speaking. I'll get people just kind of glaze over and I look at the color of their hair. I do a little bit of math and I say, sir, are you only worried about the 2030s depression because you're concerned about what golf course you will be playing because you've retired and checked out and you're done? And I love when they just admit, yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Can I still afford my country club membership?
Exactly. Well, I love to remind those individuals you may or may not have kids, but you probably have someone who knows where you live and you probably have someone who wants to move into your basement
during that time. Oh, gosh. So still taking it back to the doom and gloom.
Yes, always doom and gloom.
Yeah. But what I do love about working here at ITR and listening to any of our presenters, actually, this was feedback I heard from an audience member once, and I once was an audience member before I came to work for ITR, so I can attest to this.
Yes.
But right when you feel like you want to jump out of a window because of what ITR is showing, they rein you back in with something that is positive or something that gives you, a glimmer of hope.
I hope so. We don't want to deal in hope, but I always say you can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
Yep.
So the Great Depression is a perfect example of that. I get up on stage, I talk about the drivers, the demographics, right? What is causing this depression? And I realized halfway through one of my events, everyone in the audience is looking at me with this look of pure horror on their face. I'm talking about a Great Depression, and I'm up there just smiling like an idiot. And I said, I realize what I'm doing, but I'm doing this because if you know it's coming, if you know to prepare, if you know to seize the opportunities both leading up to and in the wake of this event, yes, this is going to be the best wealth generating event that any of us will ever see. So take it from us. We're grinning like idiots up here, but there's a good reason.
Yeah, certainly. And that's exactly what this blog post that Tim wrote is about. It says, do not miss out on these business opportunities ahead of the 2030s.
Absolutely.
So instead of the Great Depression is coming in 2030s, like tighten your belt, it's actually do not miss out on these opportunities.
Absolutely. So there will be opportunities.
Yeah.
And Tim does a great job about talking about the time leading up to, and we say 2030s, it could be 2028 or 29, maybe it's 2032. We'll know better as we get closer.
Right.
So I can't just tell you, set your alarm on October 5th, sell everything, run to the country club, whatever it is. We'll have the leading indicators. We will have indications as this approaches. But the rest of this decade, from a number of fundamental economic reasons, is shaping up to be a relatively prosperous time. So what's the old saying? Make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're looking back at the last kind of resurgence and growth period, you didn't have that one element in place that you already alluded to, which is those higher interest rates. So that might be making people a little bit shy to put those investments into place if it involves borrowing money, especially because we're saying you want to go into the 2030s debt free. So what is the
Yes.
strategy when having to take money in a loan if need be for those investments?
Sure. So everything, again, really matters. What is the scale you're looking at, right? How much upside will I enjoy versus what is that investment? And I don't think everyone needs to be debt free by the end of the decade, but don't be over levered. Be a little bit more conservative, right? Have that kind of stable foundation that you won't be just totally caught off guard when demand drops out.
Yeah. So one of Tim's subheadings within this blog is advice for how to build a financial bunker.
I love that analogy of bunker.
Ahead of 2030s. I know we have some economists who might actually have physical bunkers. When I talk to them, I'm like, you have a physical bunker.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But this is a financial bunker.
Yes.
So what is our guidance and our advice? We just kind of said, spend what you need to spend to be ready for the upturn.
But don't overspend. And don't be putting these investments in place in 2027, 8, 9. That's the time that, again, we'll still be feeling that demand.
Yeah.
And so if you are reactionary, that's when the common consensus, right? The sentiment will be, oh, now we need to go out and invest.
Yep.
That's typically a sign that the trend is long in the tooth, that we should have been ready sooner. We missed it. Now we're feeling capacity constraints. Don't fall into that trap to then try to catch up and to overinvest at the end of the cycle when you just get all of that equipment in place, get your people trained up, and that's the peak and we see things fall off.
Yeah, yikes.
That's the worst case.
What I'm hearing you say is that the timing is equally as important as anything else.
Absolutely.
In terms of this strategic planning for our business leaders.
Yes. And so having that financial bunker in place, I think there are multiple components to it, but a lot of them are just to have the plan. How can you be a little bit more stable, a little bit more resolute as we see the downside? Now, here it really matters what sector you're in. It will vary business to business.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned, don't be over levered. Maybe have a plan to attract that trade down in quality. That's something we're seeing in this cycle. I think it will be exaggerated at that time.
Yeah, that makes
I'm
sense.
not buying the brand name, I'm buying the store brand. If you have a good, better, best model, well, maybe we have not even a good, but a just okay, right?
Yeah.
I really can afford just that
The
base.
necessity.
Exactly. So staples will generally perform better. But when I say financial bunker, many individuals and even businesses, they say, oh, that means cash. That means take all the cash, stuff it under the mattress.
That's what I thought.
Right? Keep it in my bunker with my canned goods.
Yeah.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
Let me be clear and on the record. We are, with this period of growth in the remainder of this decade, we're also expecting generally higher inflation than we had last decade. So that inflation is going to eat away at the money under the mattress. So don't put it all in the bunker, but have a plan. If you do have that additional capital, have a plan to put it in something a little bit safer. Again, cash is out for inflation reasons. Typically, we see good flight to safety assets being things like U.S. government treasuries. That's the gold standard, essentially. In this case, I don't think that's a good gold standard because a lot of the problems are concentrated here in the U.S. in our government overspending, as we've talked about, right? This kind of driver of the upcoming depression.
Right.
So if we're the problem, we probably won't be the safe haven.
No. But gold, we've talked about.
But gold could be a part of that solution.
Okay.
Other government debt, non-U.S. government debt, places like Canada, Switzerland, Australia, even Sweden, those last two to some extent. I really like Canada and Switzerland personally. It takes a little bit longer to make those investments.
Okay.
And again, they're a very low rate of return. So I'm not saying go out today and buy those, but look to have a plan in place that once the leading indicators turn, once we see this, storm, not just on the horizon, but a little bit closer in, we're in the storm watch, not the storm warning or whichever it is. That's when you can pull the trigger, that you know what you need to do. you have the plan and you can just execute on it. You're not scrambling to figure out what these investments are and what these instruments are.
Okay, so continuing to follow ITR closely, because as those indicators change, as we get closer, this is when we'll be saying, this is when you make your move on the advice that we have been kind of out there preaching.
Exactly. We will be shouting it from the rooftops.
And if you want a little bit of a longer runway, maybe you're listening and you're thinking, my business isn't even in enough of a good situation to make those investments in 2025. Maybe we need a little bit of a longer runway to prepare for this. That's where working with ITR and one of our forecasting programs can benefit businesses. But we have this newer program called Financial Resilience, which is essentially a blueprint to the 2030s. We're taking in client data and we're stress testing it against other economic periods of time that created similar pressures, and we want to see how your business fared during that time.
Yes, and I hate making broad sweeping strokes as I talk about this trend, because you're right, every business will be different. So you need to know where you specifically sit in an outcome like this.
Yeah, and so working directly with Brian Bolio in a financial resilience program can give you a 10-year forecast, and not just 10 years, but we have the ability to even add on additional years to get through the entirety of the 2030s.
Yes.
Or at least to the other side.
Right, to the other side.
Get to the other side.
And you get to work with Brian, which is so fantastic.
I know. Our clients are really loving this experience, and it's not our 12-quarter forecast like we do on a quarterly basis. We have plenty of our clients that are in those quarterly forecasting programs, but this is a 10-year end analysis that Brian is providing, and it's 90 minutes of his time after he's done 5 to 6 weeks of analysis on the business. And it's been really cool to be a part of those programs and kind of see what they look like on the other side.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I need to get invites to those.
Yes. It is really cool. And we have existing clients opting into them. We have people who have not been our clients before, who have been listening to all of our material and just kind of saying, okay, you're telling me that Brian Bolio can give me direct guidance on how my business is going to fare through the 2030s. Sign me up.
I love it.
So certainly some shameless plugging there, but truly, if you follow our free content and you read our blogs written by our wonderful Tim, and any of our webinar content that your team does, or Taylor's Trends Talk, or any of the keynote presentations, you know by now that there is this overarching advice and guidance when it comes to the 2030s. And we know that the Great Depression is coming. And I'll get back to that point in a second. But what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my business is the use case in all of this. And
absolutely
timing, like we talked about a few minutes ago, the timing is everything.
Exactly. And it gives, to me, it kind of marries that long-term strategic thinking with that more tactical, when do I turn on the lever when I see the leading indicator move, right? When do I press the button and execute the plan? In addition to building that plan in the first place, that's a Herculean task sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even imagine. But I do get this question all of the time. You know, we have our followers, we have our diehards, and then we have skeptics, as always, and we welcome, as we should.
Absolutely.
We welcome the skeptics. So what do you say when you're on the road and somebody says, okay, but what if the Depression doesn't happen?
So first of all, I like to say I hope it doesn't, for a number of reasons. Great Depressions aren't great things. I mean, this one will be. This will be Great Depression.
Yeah.
But you know, on the other side of all of those opportunities it will create a lot of pain. So I understand why, especially because we haven't had a depression in so long.
Right.
It's easy to assume, no, we just have the financial structure in place that this wouldn't happen again, as it did in the 1930s. Now, the same drivers are not bringing us into the 2030s as the 1930s. So it's a very different case. I first of all want to just divorce those two a little bit to say this is not breadlines. We have better social safety nets now. It's not going to look like the 1930s. It's going to be a different depression. So first of all, to kind of reset that thinking that we could have not a one-to-one repeat, right? But a different case that would be a Great Depression. So that said, once we've kind of defined to the terms. I do like to say, I hope you're right. I hope you're wrong for personal, selfish reasons.
Right.
But even if you are, even if there is no Great Depression in 2030, what have I advised you to do? Not be overlevered, to have a plan if you need to be more conservative, to be just a little bit more financially secure. I don't think that's bad advice. I'm not telling anyone today to go out and sell all of your stock positions, to hide the money under the mattress, to hide in the bunker. So I'm not telling you today to miss that upside opportunity. I'm just saying that if we do kick the can to the end of the road and run out of road, have a plan in place. I think that's good advice at any point of any business cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And by staying in touch with ITR, and whether it's through By the Numbers, our free blog content, anything you can click on our website, there will be information out there as we get closer and if anything changes. And we will see if you follow closely enough, if you take advantage of the forecasting programs, the Great Depression could be really great for your business.
It could be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here at By the Numbers. And from all of us here at ITR, have a great day. Bye, Lauren.
Bye, Lyndsay.